Bruce Leaf. And you know that they're silent for those who fight opposite of what's violent. I'm here to set fire to all you burning sheep. Some of you motherfuckers will never wake up.
D-Lo Beats.
This is for all you brain dead sheep, ignoring war and peace. I set fire to the body stiff under the corner sheets. The autopsy reads another ignorant human being who got caught up in the crossfires of one who ain't afraid to speak. Play this till your eardrums bleed. I'll set all your masons free. I give a fuck in what you believe. Kick that nonsense to me. Round one, you won't make it to C3, nor will you be able to receive your 33rd degree. All my killings come in the verse where many occur. I attack the eye of the all-seeing curse. Jesus is Zeus, then you must worship Lucifer's birth. And I disagree, it's written in red. The Jesuits are in order. Listen to Bruce Lee while smoking trees. I train with killers who honor their beliefs. Wicked lords of the Illuminati. I'm at it again, burning down the Vatican. My shadows vanish before seen on St. Peter's Street. My philosophy on hypocrisy is the meaning of murdering beats. So raise your peace, I'll break your very wrist before your gun bar goes bow. Sifu, Sensei, tell him about Baal in the OVO owl, but with no mathematical breakdown. How about the Moloch ceremony? My style you can't defeat. I'm far from ordinary. Opponents are scared to compete. Holding down my fort with force, the sword I swing. I'm the definition of a catastrophe. And here's a little slap, the best actor in your favorite bat rattle league. Give the kid his trophy, please, or I will have you smacked. The way I rock the planet in plain old fashion, I'm celebrated in March Madness. The sacred math belongs to my godly practice. The omni art I mastered. Your entertainment has your mental captured. A prisoner to Hollywood's caption. Lights, camera, action. The lavish movie magic is crucial. Harmful to those not protected from voodoo. I want a celebrity death match with me against Manubo. My heights of achievement are beyond your reach, kid. I was born a genius. On the checkerboard I seldom box with cleaners. My technique is master Jimmy Woo's Kung Fu San who's teaching. I'm upset at your brain dead sheep who fell asleep in front of your TV set instead of spring cleaning. Only blood stains I'm leaving. Live on MREC I made a mess. PowerPoints that no one can test. Contestants, what's your testament? Keep testing. I've told one, I'll tell another, I'll send you in pockets. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. What's today's mathematics? Feed them the scoop. Hashtag fake news. Truthfully, the sheep don't wanna know where the truth lives. Then you can count on sheep following sheep. This is a war I can't win without a team. So be prepared for my army of black belts. We're here to send your legion back to hell. Otherwise I do it myself. Uncompromised radio, restoring order. Sign up if you wanna help. Join the witch hunt, unveil the serpent's tail. Lead us to your dragon's lair so I can ring his doorbell. Tough talk ain't much from a cartoon character. A cemetery's barbaria. Worse than the corona, I'll cause mass hysteria. Only ninjas wear a mask, so that's we're not identified by your neighbor. Don't be a slave to the government's network. Dancing in a masquerade for your labor parade. I'm more ready, juggling grenades. Rhyming like a ticking time bomb, I stay calm. I can defuse a short fuse by adding fire to the fuel. Like my decodes, I move in silence. Sounding off alarms, I'm immune to the violence. Hey yo, my firearms will be used for the tyrants. So come on and try it. Death grips, extra clips, I'm applying. The righteous angel gave me the angle on the occult science.
What's up with me?
Freaks of nature? Well then, come on down to Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen. Yeah, see the alligator boy. Ride my famous murder ride. Most of all, don't forget to take home some of my tasty fried chicken. Ha ha! It just tastes so damn good.
Loners are alone, I feel all one. Not half a one, the whole with a half
half is from. A whole is but a circle, which is actually none. I'll go back to one, before two, for a two, 42, fortitude, atom, then it's 6, 6 atoms. 4 and 2's 8, infinity went vertical. 0 with a twist, like a Taurus or a Mobius strip. It's the holy of the holy of glyphs. Number 9 is a 1 with his nose on his dick. Number 2 is synonymous with more than just shit. Duality when the polar is split. Cross suns, your solar eclipse. Devil 18s that know the 3-6. Deep thesis. The 0 is an egg with the capacity of hatching to any fraction. Imagine in your brain. I'm doing numbers. I'm doing numbers. I'm doing numbers. My mathematics forcing you to wonder. Yeah, I'm doing numbers. I'm doing numbers. Yeah, I'm doing numbers. My mathematics forcing you to wonder. Number 1 is depicted with a straight line, the quickest way to travel within space-time. Number 2 is a 1 on his knees praying to itself. 1's a capital I. Number 3 is like an open set of handcuffs. Trial tried M8 when clamped up. Uppercase Q is a 0 when it's pissing. Lowercase q is a 9 when it stands up. Letters are just numbers, and words are like algebra formulas that your brain processes to make colors. Atoms are just pixels, and DNA's coding that's activated by light and then crystallizes within you. 64 codons, 6 plus 4 like the bits in my Nintendo I play Mario on. 10 said 1 Mario, numericals. 11's 1 in the mirror, do merry go round like the sun do. Time starts with the 1, ends with the 1, 2, or 12. Slow down to 12's what I run to. Forward like the word for, the whole in 1, 2, like 3 4's. Number of disciples of the King, Lord figures that I bring forth. 5 like the points in the pentagram. You flip it, the image is co-headed man. Baphomet, supreme 5 power, yes, the balance between Ra and Set. Ra, Set, reset, God in flesh. 5 letters when Allah is text. 5 fingers, 5 toes, and they all in set like 2 arms, 2 legs, head start when they all are stretched. I guess you could say I'm obsessed, counting down to my conscious death. Bless. I'm doing numbers. I'm doing numbers. Yeah, I'm doing numbers. My mathematics forcing you to wonder. Yeah, I'm doing numbers. Yeah, I'm doing numbers. Yeah, I'm doing numbers. My mathematics forcing you to wonder. When I think about what numbers are, my brain gets numbers are. 1, solo, soul, Latin for sun and star. The sum of your birth numbers is what you are. My social security is a VIN number. My body is a running car. Bun, base organism. My dimension is the 4th edition. 444, I be portal shifting. I measure time with the silence before the ticking. I'm the first before the second, before the minute. You don't get it when I fidget with these digits. I'm too cold with numbers, frigid. Numb birth, labor with the painkillers. I'm a prescription, listen. 6 is sex, 6 is legs, which insect steps. Sick like incest sin. Inception of the 6th sense. Incense, 6 sensations. Scarred like a sensation. 3rd rock finish only 6 days in. Rested on the 7th like a sick day in. In days in. Room I predict days in. A little acid out the big basin. I took the trip that shifts Majins. UCC, I see 2 7s. A triangle's a 7 in reflection. According to my middle school calculator, 7,734,206 people will go to hell. Whoever coded this reality wrote it well. 1 is a phallus, 0 is a yoni. They made 8 kids and the family is growing. Shit. Doing numbers. Doing numbers.
Yo, this is Bruce Leaf. You know the F is silent for those who fight opposite of what's violent. You're tuned in to Bruce Leaf's philosophy on hypocrisy. you know exactly where the fuck you at. So let's get started. Today's video's topic is we're gonna be touching on and breaking down Bob Lee, you know, the co-founder of Cash App, who's dead after a parent stabbing attack in San Francisco. Bob Lee, the former chief technology officer of Square who helped launch Cash App, has died after an app parent stabbing attack in San Francisco. So we're gonna watch a video from Zachary K. Hubbard at Gematria Effect News 25 with his little breakdown. Shout out to Zachary K. Hubbard. Then we're gonna watch, of course, a video breaking down The Jesuits by Jordan Maxwell. After that, we're gonna do our own Gematria breakdown. So make sure you stay tuned the fuck in as we break down the Bob Lee and the fall of the American dollar.
This morning, we're learning new details about the stabbing death of a tech executive in San Francisco. Cryptocurrency startup MobileCoin confirms Bob Lee was killed early Tuesday morning. Lee was the founder of Cash App and the chief product officer of MobileCoin. San Francisco police say it happened on Main Street in the city's Rincon Hill neighborhood just after 2:30 in the morning Tuesday. When officers arrived, they found Lee with stab wounds. He was taken to a hospital where we're told he later died. This morning, MobileCoin CEO Joshua Goldbard sent this statement saying, quote, "Bob was a force of nature. He helped to birth Android and Cash App into our world. Mobi was his dream, a privacy-protecting wallet for the 21st century. I will miss him every day." On Twitter, people are also remembering him using his Crazy Bob Twitter handle. Kyle Zink says, quote, "Was scheduled to work on MobileCoin with you tomorrow morning at Crazy Bob. You always believed in me. I'll be forever grateful." Now, no arrests have been made in this case, and San Francisco police have not yet released any details related to possible suspects. Of course, we'll keep you updated. Amanda.
All right. You already know. Watching that bullshit right there, if you've seen or heard anything out of the ordinary, or anything that was looking fishy, we are definitely gonna talk about it. All right, but before we get started, let's listen to Jordan Maxwell explain the Jesuits, and then we'll break this shit all the way the fuck down.
Who the Jesuits are and where they came from, and what it is their purpose is, because, well, you know, to a lot of people that might just seem like, well, that's just one of those orders of priests. Why are they any different from, you know, we don't know the names of the others, but the rest of them, why are they different exactly?
Well, I think I've used this excuse before. Suppose I, as a white man, were in Africa and I got in trouble and they threw me in prison, and all around me are blacks in the prison and I'm the only white guy. And so logic alone would tell you that I need to do some thinking real quick, because I've got masses of blacks in the prison and I'm the only white guy. And so the smart thing to do is for the white guy to start spreading rumors among the rest of the inmates about what the other inmates are saying about you and about your mother and about your family. And I go to one group and I tell them, you know what, those guys over in that corner over there, what they said about you and your mother. And then now I've got them mad at each other and they're going to be struggling against each other. And then I go and do that over and over and over until I finally got the whole prison rant and raving at each other. And I'm passing around rumors and causing problems for the whole prison. And I'm getting everybody mad at each other and fighting each other by lying to them. So thank God they're all killing each other and they leave me alone. And so that's the smart thing to do, is get everybody fighting each other and then they'll leave you alone. And so the Jesuits were found in the mid-1500s, and I believe that the Jesuits are responsible for founding so many of the major religions today. So many of these religions have been founded by Jesuits. Of that, I mean, the Masonic order is a Jesuit, Catholic Jesuit order. that was founded. We call it today Freemasonry. I think it has a Jesuit foundation. The Catholic Church Jesuits founded what we call the Freemasonic Lodge. I am sure that the Jesuits founded Freemasonry, and I'm sure that Freemasonry, in the hands of the Jesuits, helped finance and organize and direct Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists, Christadelphians, Worldwide Church of God, and all of the other British Israel World Federation religions. Go back and look at the British Israel World Federation concept, and you will see that Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, the Seventh-day Adventists, Worldwide Church of God, Christadelphians, so many different cults of Christianity in America are actually Masonic cults, and founded by Freemasons and financed by Freemasons and run by Freemasons, and Freemasonry itself is run by the Jesuits. And so I think that there's been a continual feeding of poison into the human society, causing people to hate each other, causing people to be racist against each other, and never realizing that it's so that you will not look at your real enemy. The real enemy is the one that's right there in your midst and doing all this to you, so that you will become so weak and so downtrodden that you will not be any, you won't be any competition to the enemy that's already inside your gates. And by enemy inside the gates of America, I mean the one group that the founding fathers back in 1700s, when they founded the United States of America as a republic, not a democracy, they founded the United States as a republic. They said there were two things that the founding fathers did not want in this country, and it's written that way. The two groups that they did not want coming into this country were lawyers and the Catholic Church, the Vatican. The Vatican was not allowed to operate on the property we call the United States of America. Well, when people were going west, back in the 1800s, when mankind was leaving the East Coast and going west, you could ask any military guy, what does the word mission mean? As a mission is a military term for a military operation. It's called a mission. That's a military term. Well, that's why California and the west of the United States has missions. They have Catholic missions. Mission is a military term. The mission was set up by the Jesuits. And so they were coming into this country the back way. The corporation called the United States did not want the Catholic Church here in America at all. They specifically stated that. But the Jesuits, they went across the country, and how they did it, they came through Mexico, they came through Canada, and slipped into the country and founded what they call missions, Catholic missions. And so it was a military establishment of the Catholic Church, a Roman Church, inserting itself into the United States of America with missions. And so that's why today the Jesuits are a military order within the Catholic Church. And, you hear people say, well, the Pope doesn't have any troops. Well, what can he do? He has no troops. America's got the troops. European leaders have got the troops. What does the Pope have? He just got a bunch of priests. No, he doesn't. He has the very most incredibly brilliant theoretical physicists in the world. They're called Jesuits. They know exactly how to play your numbers. They know exactly.
They're called Jesuits. They know exactly how to play your numbers. They know exactly.
They're called Jesuits. They know exactly how to play your numbers. They know exactly how to get you to hate somebody else and start a war. They know precisely how to run the world with chaos, because out of chaos comes control. It's called ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. And so this is why I am sure that the Jesuits are behind all of the stuff going on in Europe right now, because the Europeans are involved in reestablishing the Nazi Party today in Europe. It's called the Euro. It's actually a Nazi idea provided for by and directed by Jesuits. and the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is trying to reestablish the rule of the Roman Empire over the whole earth, and they're calling it the New World Order.
Of the Roman Empire over the whole earth, and they're calling it the New World Order.
Of the Roman Empire over the whole earth, and they're calling it the New World Order. It's an incredible story of betrayal, and so many people see the Catholic Church and have no idea in the world what this thing is really all about, where this Christianity actually came from, what it teaches, and all the sexual symbolism and violence and wars and bloodshed. All of this stuff is being fed to the human race, and this is why we're in trouble today, because our people, like the Bible says, God says to his people, my people are dying from a lack of knowledge. And there's another scripture that is a very important one as far as I'm concerned. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That simply means when the whole nation has no vision of what's going on, they have got the faintest idea in the world what they're doing. They're not being told by the government anything, because the government is a big club and you ain't in it. And so they're telling you what they want you to know to keep you occupied. And so until you realize that where there is no vision, the people are dying from a lack of knowledge. I think that is what the Catholic Church is doing for America. It's helping to keep our people ignorant, ill-informed, and make sure the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, and the organized crime around the world coming out of Rome, out of Italy. I mean, all you got to do is go back and watch Godfather 3, the third one in the series, Godfather 3, where Michael Corleone, the mafia in New York, is inside the Vatican, dealing with Secretary of State, and then you begin to see how organized crime is working hand in hand daily with the Vatican. So once you see how our world is really run and who's running things and how it works, it's going to shock you. It will shock you into realizing that the world we live in has been organized and directed a long time ago before you and your mother was ever born. There was already organized crime in Europe 1,000 years ago. And you find out that Adolf Hitler was financed, organized, and directed the Nazi Party by the Jesuits. The Jesuits are the brains behind the Nazi Party. And the Jesuit symbols are used in the Nazi Party. The Jesuits are also responsible for giving the world today the Communist Party. The Soviet Union is a Jesuit operation. And so today all over the world where you have communists still pushing their so-called democracy, the so-called Democratic Party, in Europe the communists are referred to as Christian Democrats. There's a term that used to be all over Europe. It was called Christian Democrats. Christians because they were Jesuit, they were Catholic, so therefore they were Christian, and they were Democrats. Were promoting their idea of democracy, which is dividing the people against each other and letting everybody have a piece of the action to get in a war and a fight with everybody else. And that's what's going on today. When you see all this invasion of the European culture, it's the same idea. The Vatican is destroying European civilization with the idea of putting together something new, a new world order, in which there will be no more individuality, no more creativity, no more nationalism. There'll be one big, happy communist concentration camp called the New World Order. And the Vatican and the Jesuits are the brains behind it.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. In the headlines today, the murder of a tech executive, a former head at Square, and also Cash App, stabbed to death yesterday, April 4th, 4/4, a fateful day in history, the day MLK was assassinated, the day the first president in office died. Again, 4-4, where 4 is the number associated with death in numerology, and in gematria, the word kill equals 44. Again, if you're new here, look up the song Murder by Numbers, where killing's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3, and also look up the song Gematria, the killing name. Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. If you just take the alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26, and you add up the letters of kill. K's the 11th letter, I's the 9th, L's the 12th, L's the 12th, kill equals 44. We talk about this number and death all the time. It doesn't just happen on 4-4, it happens on 44 date numerology. It happens 44 days from people's birthday. In this case, Bob Lee was 43 years old, which means he was in his 44th year of life. And as for dying at age 43, it's also a number connected to death because of the letters RIP, 43, in gematria. When you use numerology, killing equals 43. If you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers: alphabetic order with numerology, reverse alphabetic order with numerology. Again, we talked about kill equals 44. When you run it in reverse, kills 64. When you run it in reverse with numerology, kills 28. Just since he was with Cash App right now, it is noteworthy that Cash App does have the gematria 64 and 28. No, this doesn't mean you're going to die if you use Cash App. But the people who perform these rituals, this is how lives are chosen. That phrase, your numbers up. You learn this knowledge, all of these things start to make a lot more sense. So RIP to Bob Lee. And again, just pay attention to numbers. Yesterday on 4-4, one of the headlines, 4 people killed in Mexico. They said they were killed the day prior, April 3rd, the 93rd day of the year, where Mexico's 93. That's your regularly scheduled Mexico fear propaganda. Then Brazil, another nation that they like to make scary. Today, 4 children killed in axe murders at a daycare in Brazil. But again and again, you guys, you'll see the same numbers. 4, the number of death on 4-4. Bob Lee killed in his 44th year of life while ahead of Cash App. It's probably a ritual for the coming digital dollar. We'll leave it there for now. Actually, you know what? For the person who's new here, I want you to check this out. San Francisco, where this happened. That's where the Satanic Church was established in 66. In gematria, you'll notice San Francisco equals 122. It's on the 122nd meridian west. San Francisco and Satanic both equal 122. San Francisco 122 when you run the alphabetic order forwards. Satanic 122 when you run it in the reverse. Again, on the 122nd meridian. Thus, why the church was established in that city. If you use numerology, San Francisco and Satanic both equal 50. But again, learn gematria. A lot of things will start to make a lot more sense. Until next time.
We must protect the position of the American dollar as a pillar of monetary stability around the world.
The dollar, the last known superpower of the US, is coming to an end. Today, US dollars represent about 60% of the value of all the currencies in the entire world. But that trend is also changing.
The dollar looks like they're dumping it.
The world's largest oil producer, Saudi Arabia, is reportedly asking to join BRICS.
As more and more developing nations, including some of...
So we ask ourselves, why are banks collapsing? We just seen recently the Silicon Bank collapse. Now Bob Lee was stabbed and collapsed in Silicon Valley. Don't be asleep, my brain dead sheep. Back to this video.
The world's largest economies decide to ditch the dollar in their bilateral trade. Voices of concern and even despair are being heard in the US over the looming end of America's global financial dominance.
Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for what's being called the end of the US dollar, as countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are teaming up to create their own alternative to the global world reserve currency that, of course, was and still technically is the US dollar.
We must ask ourselves, who funded the Federal Reserve? Where was it organized? Who's a part of this new world order rollout? The fall of the American dollar.
People are calling this the de-dollarization of the world, and this is probably one of, if not the most important financial events that's going on in the world today, and I want to help explain how this will affect us. Let's start with the concept of world reserve currencies and what it actually means to be one, because the US dollar was not always the world reserve currency. Before the US dominated the world reserve currency status, there were others that eventually ended, like France, which held the reserve status from 1720 to 1815, followed by Great Britain from 1815 to 1920. The US dollar became the world reserve currency shortly after that with the creation of what's called the Bretton Woods Agreement. In other words, the US has held its world reserve currency status for about 100 years now, and according to billionaire Ray Dalio, who studied this, he says this changes every 94 years or so. So we're technically past the point of expiration. So why is all of this happening all of a sudden? First, what is a world reserve currency, and why does the world need one? Once a currency becomes a global world reserve currency, it'll usually come with 3 new superpowers. Number 1, stability. Stability allows for international trade, and if you want to trade with each other, you need a common language and a common money that everyone can agree to. Most countries just don't trust each other because they don't know how much the other country is printing its own monetary supply. So how much is that money really worth? So instead, they could use a world reserve currency knowing that no matter what asset or commodity they trade, it'll always be backed by something stable and something that has...
The fall of the American dollar is next. Eliminate Cash App, bring in FedNow, bring in the 15-minute cities, push the new surveillance for the order of the new dawn. The new world order rollout is in place.
Value. The second superpower is that the country with the world reserve currency becomes an investing powerhouse. Because the world likes to use the most stable money, which right now are dollars, the world also has to have a dollar wallet. Those are called foreign exchange reserves, which are partially held in dollars. But just like every other US bank, not every country will use all the money inside its dollar wallet. So what it doesn't use, it will then invest into US treasuries and securities. Countries like Japan, China, and the UK are some of the largest holders of US assets through their foreign exchange reserves. And all in all, the US has anywhere between $7 to $8 trillion worth of foreign investment. Just for context, that amount of money is about the same size as the entire GDP of Germany, the UK, and India combined.
I repeat, the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. Bob Lee collapsed in Silicon Valley in San Francisco. We will see the connection to 66, like 66 the year the Satanic Church was established in San Francisco. 66 books of the Bible and the blasphemy from the Jesuit and the papacy of the organized religion.
Now, the third superpower of the US dollar is the dollar's exclusive ability to buy oil. Shortly after World War II, since the US was pretty much the only standing superpower left, it created something called the Bretton Woods Agreement, which essentially tied all currencies around the world to the US dollar, and the dollar became extremely powerful. But a couple decades later, something happened in 1971. The US ran out of money. In 1971, President Richard Nixon announced to the world that $35 would no longer redeem 1 ounce of gold like was originally promised.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Instead, the only thing that dollars would be able to redeem is just more debt. And by 1971, the US had been using the dollar's dominance for decades to get themselves favorable foreign policy. So the question is, when the US ran out of gold, why didn't the rest of the world go back to using their own currency? And the answer is, because they couldn't, because of that third superpower. In 1945, President Franklin Roosevelt set up a secret wartime meeting that would change the course of US history. Very few records were kept from that meeting, but Roosevelt promised the King of Saudi Arabia protection in exchange for the US to have the exclusive right to develop oil from Saudi Arabia. Meaning, if another country wanted to buy oil because they need to power their country, which is something they did need and still need to do, they also need US dollars.
45, huh? 45, like the 45th president the day before 4-5 Passover. Your Hollywood Jesuit president is in court the day before 4-5, the 45th president. Just like the day before Passover, Bob Lee collapses in Silicon Valley. Next is the chip, next is the 15-minute cities, and next is new surveillance.
That's the birth of the petrodollar. And that's also why every single US president since that meeting has cozied up to Saudi Arabia to maintain those positive relationships.
Our house is your house.
There's an Arab saying, the sands are blowing. And I submit to you, King Fahd, that if the sands of time give us any hint of the future, it is that in the days ahead, the friendship between the Saudi Arabian and American people will be a strong and vital force in the world.
Those three superpowers, the stability for trade, becoming an investment powerhouse, and the exclusivity to buy oil, has given the US global dominance over the last century. And sometimes the US has used that dominance over other countries to cut them off from their life force, that is energy. But when that happens, some countries will rebel, especially ones that can produce their own energy. That's why we're seeing those relationships fall apart and new alliances are being created to challenge the supremacy of the US dollar. Now hold on a minute. If you actually look at the value of the dollar today, it's going up. In fact, it's somewhere near the highest point over the last 20 years. So why are people saying that the dollar is going down if the price is going up? And there's a couple reasons for that, other than the price. If you look at the amount of dollars held around the world, that number is gradually coming down. Reason number two, the US just reminded the entire world how powerful the US dollar can be if it's used against your country. Like Russia, for example, which had its dollar wallet or its foreign exchange reserves frozen and threatened to be used to aid Ukraine. And because of that, reason number three, countries are partnering together and forming their own alliances with the help of Russia that's providing the energy. And all of this has been happening gradually behind the scenes for a really long time now. In the year 2000, for example, the UN allowed Iraq to sell oil denominated in euros and not in dollars. By 2007, Iran completely stopped selling oil in dollars. In 2014, Russia and China signed a deal to bypass US dollars, and then Iran and China ditched the dollar through their $400 billion investment deal, followed by India and Japan teaming up, Russia and Iran and India, and the list goes on and on. And now more recently in the news, we're seeing China and Saudi Arabia teaming up together to form a competitor to the petrodollar that is now being called the petro-yuan. Alliances like the BRICS nations, which represent 31.5% of the world's GDP, are also getting stronger as more and more countries are wanting to join. Even the Federal Reserve's Jerome Powell has told us that it was possible to have more than one world reserve currency.
The order of the new dawn, the new world order, has been pushing for one world currency for a very long time. Us in America may see Canada, America, US, and Mexico all as one, like they say for years, called the Amero.
It's also possible to have more than one large reserve currency. There have been times when that was the case.
And that's why some people are believing that right now we're starting to see the beginning of the end of the US dollar. So the question is this actually happening though? Or is it just more clickbait from the media to get some views and to get some people to sell you something shiny? There is truth to all of it, but the truth is somewhere in the middle. So before you freak out about the end of the dollar, I did some digging, and let me show you what I found. The end of the dollar as a concept has been predicted and talked about almost every single year for decades now. And here's just a couple articles to prove that point. Here's one from 2004 warning about the disappearing dollar. Here's one from 2006 about the end of the dollar's dominance. Another from 2009, China displacing the US dollar. 2012, 2015. Here's one all the way back from 1975 about OPEC cutting its link with the US dollar. There's probably articles that are way older than what I was able to find that say the exact same thing, but the point is, the world is trying and has been for an extremely long time to replace the dollar. But not everyone agrees that the dollar will be replaced. Some people argue that if this does happen, it's going to happen over an extremely long period of time. and here's some evidence for that argument. Like for example, this chart, which shows the share of transactions in dollars around the world versus other currencies in the last 35 years. Since each transaction has two sides, it adds up to 200%, but this chart only shows the biggest currencies. But what the data really shows is that the dollar is still extremely stable. The Chinese yuan is growing in the chart I just showed you, but it's growing at the expense of the euro and the Japanese yen losing influence, but not the dollar. Now you might have also seen this chart in a couple videos, which shows how central banks have been reducing their dollar holdings, so it seems like the dollar is in fact getting weaker. But the explanation here is that the reduction mostly happened around the 2008 global financial crisis, in a time of instability and great uncertainty when really no one knew what would happen to the world. But if you look at the value of the dollar itself, it's actually going up. And that's because the Federal Reserve is increasing what's called the federal fund interest rate. And that is still attracting foreign investments around the world to park their money inside of treasury bonds. Remember that second superpower that the dollar has. And that in turn is still strengthening the dollar.
They will use this as a fear tactic to implement and push the chip. They will use this to force celebrities to implement the 15 cities and new surveillance. We will be put into districts. When this rollout takes place, be ready for the Civil War.
That is happening today. So the US is still seen as an economic powerhouse of stability, and that's not changing anytime soon from any data that I was able to find. So it seems like based on history, anytime a world reserve currency changes, it happens through a major conflict. Now maybe this time will be different, but no one's really sure exactly what would happen to the economy. Some people argue that the US would lose its ability to export dollars. Therefore, more dollars would stay in the US, and that means higher inflation like we saw during the pandemic. Some people argue as a result, that would mean commodities like gold would just skyrocket and we could go back to the golden standard. But those are usually the people that have gold to sell you. Some people say that we would see hyper-Bitcoinization, but those are also usually the people that have Bitcoin to sell you. Some people argue that if this were to happen, it would be a reckoning like no other, and once it does, there would be no going back. Prepare for the end of the world! That's probably the extreme opinion here, but it's also the one that gets the most views on the internet. But still, before you freak out and move to a new country and learn a new language, consider this. Of the 750 currencies that have been around since the 1700s, less than 20% of them are still around today. All currencies have the fate of rising and then eventually falling, and the US dollar is no different. And yes, we're seeing that in real time happening right now.
If you're not familiar with the Great Reset, I advise you to look into the Great Reset. The dawn of the new order. The Golden Dawn.
But it's also going to happen over the next few decades, and perhaps not even in our lifetime. Because the truth is, the dollar is not really going anywhere. Most commerce around the world is still happening with dollars. So if it does happen, it's going to take an extremely long time. But still, just to be transparent with you, I want to share with you my personal investment strategy. Rather than focus on what I can't control, I'm instead going to focus on what I can, which is to save as much money as I can and invest it into low-cost, broad market index funds like VTI or VOO, and do that continually and reinvest all my dividend income, because by doing that, it allows me to build up my passive income so that I don't have to rely on the income from a job in an otherwise potentially unstable economy. And if inflation ever happens, then that money will still grow. And that's also why I invest in Bitcoin, which is my alternative to gold, which in and of itself is a hedge against the dollar. But in the meantime, I think about investing like I'm hiring every single CEO on Wall Street and their executive to figure out the best way to make my money work for me instead of the other way around. And anytime I go to the store, I'm like, all of you guys work for me. Not really, that's not how it works, but kind of does. That's been the best strategy historically speaking. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, don't forget to grab your free stocks, links are down below, and then go track them automatically with the spreadsheet link down below in my Patreon. Love you, thank you so much for watching this video, would love to see you back here on Monday, Friday, sometimes a Wednesday. See you soon, bye-bye.
These people are insane.
Tuning out the news, all new Wednesdays after The Daily Show.
What is going on inside this studio?
This morning, police in California are investigating the death of Bob Lee, the founder of Cash App and former chief technology officer of Square. The 43-year-old was stabbed to death yesterday in San Francisco. He was rushed to a hospital after being stabbed multiple times, where he later died. Lee had lived in San Francisco for years, but had been visiting the day he was murdered. Right now, no suspects are in custody, and investigators are looking into a motive.
So many there, especially in the tech world, the tech community, are stunned at the very abrupt and sudden stabbing death there on the streets of San Francisco of tech visionary Bob Lee. So much so the investigation continues. Let's get an update on where, if any, leads there are with Fox 2 reporter Brooks Giroux. He's in the field now. Brooks, good to see you yet again. You're on this story for the second day straight. Do law enforcement officials have any leads, any tips?
At this point, Andrew, they've been staying very tight-lipped. They haven't told us much of anything since yesterday, and even then, they only were releasing his name. Now today, shock, sadness, anger, those are many of the reactions people have had as they've come out here to try to place some flowers or remember Bob Lee. Sources tell me he was in town just for a couple of days. He was moved to Miami recently and was staying in a hotel up the street. But in terms of what led up to this deadly stabbing, we still don't have many details.
What happens under and near the Bay Bridge has been a bother.
We wanted to see more lights, more patrolling.
But the Rincon Hill neighborhood in San Francisco was rocked by the deadly stabbing of tech executive Bob Lee. Still no arrests and no named suspect, as those who knew Lee paid tribute. Those who know the area express frustration.
I think for the past 10 years, I've seen things getting worse and worse and worse every year.
Sam Habash has run a corner convenience store for more than 15 years and says he now closes early for safety reasons.
It's really pitch dark. You walk down the street, you probably get mugged, you could probably get robbed.
Many people here have a sense that everything from break-ins to homicides are on the rise. And now with Lee's death, the San Francisco Police Union agrees.
You have to recognize that we do have a problem, we have an issue. This stabbing was, I believe, like the third or fourth stabbing within, I think, 72 hours.
We found there were 4 stabbings in 4 days across the city.
We found there were 4 stabbings in 4 days across the city.
Did you hear the 44? Did you hear the 44?
We found there were 4 stabbings in 4 days across the city and another deadly shooting with no arrests. Police Chief Bill Scott saying there is no place for this kind of violent crime against anyone in our city. I want to assure everyone that our investigators are working tirelessly to make an arrest and bring justice to Mr. Lee and his loved ones, just as we try to do on every homicide that occurs in our city. Supervisors just approved Mayor London Breed's request for $25 million to cover more police overtime, keeping cops on the streets and detectives investigating. But not knowing what played out on Main Street and whether it was targeted or random has left many fearful what happened to Lee could happen to anyone at any time.
They come and do their crime and they just get on the bridge and they go. We need more police protection on the streets.
Now, we reached out to the mayor's office to get her comments on these concerns over crime, but so far we have not heard back. Andrew?
Brooks, I'm just kind of curious, has there been any video that has surfaced or was anyone in the vicinity during this stabbing incident? I know it happened very early in the morning, but has anyone seen any visual evidence of it?
So it was 2:30 in the morning here on Main Street, on the 400 block of Main Street. We have seen many, many cameras up and down this block that are on many of these buildings, 2 condos in particular. In fact, one right next to me here captured some video that I saw on another media outlet where he appears to be sort of staggering and asking for help, banging on the door, but it appears no one came to the door to help him. And at that point, he just collapses. This is the spot, and you can kind of see down here, you see those flowers down there? That is where they believe he collapsed, and paramedics and police found him there. When we showed up here yesterday, the ground was all wet. they had just basically sprayed off all of the blood that was on the pavement here. Very sad.
Yeah, and Brooks, just lastly, do we anticipate law enforcement officials possibly posting some type of reward for information, or is the investigation just going to run its course until there is a lead?
A couple of things there. First, we have heard that the police have been asking for anyone that may know Bob Lee, that has information about where he may have been that night, as well as anyone with any kind of surveillance video or knowledge, to share that with them. We actually have a reporter across town because the police chief is having a town hall meeting about something completely different tonight, and we're going to try to ask him some questions. But they've really been tight-lipped about this because they say this is an active investigation. They have some leads, but they don't want to disclose. Do they have a suspect? What evidence do they have? They're not ready to put that out there, and they have not publicly released any of that surveillance video that I was talking about earlier. That was simply based on what I saw on other sources, but that is not confirmed at this point.
All right, Brooks Giroux there live for us in San Francisco. Yeah, Brooks, this is just still such a fresh incident and scene, and we'll keep updating our viewers as well alongside you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, this is another video I want y'all to watch as I do a little commentating from Ringo TV. Make sure you go like, subscribe to Ringo TV's reactions. This is Bruce Leaf. You know the F is silent for those who fight opposite of what's violent.
Welcome to another edition of Ringo TV Reactions, the #1 reactionary channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Ringo. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe, and support the content.
Alright, make sure you subscribe to Ringo TV's reactions. Right now, he's gonna break this Cash App down.
Welcome to the stream. Ringo TV reactions. In the news right now, there's a lot of crazy things going on out here. Got cats getting deleted left and right. Everybody.
And deleted they are. These Jesuits are taking them out for the new Fed Now currency.
Body after the bag. Man, oh man. What we got here is a situation. The tech executive.
The 201 tech executive, that is
Bob Lee, was sacrificed. Now, when you think about these kind of guys in these situations, you probably figure, okay, he just got deleted. It was just a coincidence, you know, ain't nothing really big.
And even Ringo TV agrees with the sacrifice, the deletion. Take him out. That's exactly what this is.
But when you take a look at this situation and you realize that the U.S. Federal Reserve banking system is launching its own Cash App called Fed Now in July.
Y'all already know we don't deal with conspiracies. We don't deal with coincidences. Get that coincidence theory out of here.
It kind of make you go, what's going on here? It says the Federal Reserve banking system, is launching its own Cash App. But the Cash App founder, Bob Lee, was stabbed to death in San Francisco.
This, my friends, was definitely another murder by numbers.
He was 43 years old. Isn't that interesting? So a man gets stabbed to death, but yet the powers that be is creating their own Cash App. You don't see the bigger picture.
Fucking goofies. It's a beautiful day out.
The U.S. Federal Reserve banking system is launching its own Cash App called Fed Now in July. This is a movement towards getting rid of Bob Lee.
What's all the shouting?
Do you see how I did that? This is a movement towards getting rid of physical money and having digital currency. Now, it's very clear that they deleted this man to get him out of the way in order to bring about this new digital currency. But they had to get him out of the way because he most likely didn't agree. So they had to sacrifice him. You have to understand it's all business at the end of the day. Because you can't have Cash App and then have, the federal system make up their own version of Cash App. That wouldn't work. This guy, Bob Lee, he was in the way. And in business, when you don't go along with the narrative, if you don't go along with the plan, they're going to get you up on out of here. I'm pretty sure when he was stabbed to death, he didn't just walk around and just got stabbed. He was set up. Because you ain't going to have people that are multi-millionaires just walking around San Francisco and not know what's going on.
And Ringo, that is a fact. That's why all you hear them talk about in this Murder by Numbers is the deterioration of San Francisco. So San Francisco, get ready for the new surveillance. Get ready, because you may be a 15-minute city next.
When you move in these streets, you're supposed to know how to be safe. And I'm pretty sure that he knew how to be safe. But all of a sudden, he turned up with holes in his body. And a lot of you may not understand this, but when someone stabbed you to death, it's very personal.
And for all the battle rap fans tuned in, you already know how personal it gets when you're stabbed to death. We just seen Pat Stay, the knife bar king, get stabbed to death. So stay tuned, my friends. We got more to come.
Now, I don't know if you understand how the streets is. When someone bring a gun and they shoot you, that's quick. But to stab somebody, it's a messy job. It's a personal job. That means it's not a game. Whoever did this, they were upset with this guy. So they decided to do the work dirty. You understand? They wanted him to be alive while holes is being installed in his body. Because based on the news reports, he was still alive when they took him to the hospital. So that means all while he's getting stabbed to death, he's feeling the excruciating pain as the blood begin to flow. And he's looking at the person who's doing it. And he's saying to himself, why? And they probably telling him, because you don't want to go along with the plan. We told you what we want. You ain't want to go along, so we had to take you out.
Does this not sound familiar? You already seen what we did with the Death of a Musketeer Part 1, Death of the Musketeer Part 2, many videos on murder by numbers.
It's all business. You have to understand. This is what's go down in these streets. This is why you can't trust nobody. See me, I don't trust nobody. I've seen too much in these streets to think that everybody have your best interests at heart. Everybody's a snake, bro. Everybody. You gotta watch out. And see, you gotta understand what I mean by everybody's a snake, because then you'll get paranoid and you'll think everybody you see. No. Anybody you see in your line of business is a snake. You gotta understand how the business works. Anybody that is in your line of work, in your field, and they see you being in the way of progress, they're gonna try to line you up to take you out. That's what happened to Lee. In order for the powers that be to release their new Cash App in July, they had to get him out of the way. He was in the way. So they had to delete him. And that's the same way you could get deleted if you connect with certain people and you don't want to go along with the business plan. You know what I mean? That can happen on social media. That can happen in the workplace. That can happen in the housing market. If you get in the way and you preventing other people from taking it to the next level, and they come to you like, look, fam, we got this new deal that can turn Cash App into something bigger. Because we don't like the fact that all of these people out here are able to get Cash Apps and do this and that. We want to control the money. We want to have an inside connection with the money that people get, because we want to tax everything. And we want to know what the people got on their Cash App. We don't like the system that you have right now. We don't like it. People making deposits every other week have an inside connection with the money that people get, because we want to tax everything. And we want to know what the people got on their Cash App. We don't like the system that you have right now. We don't like it. People making deposits every other week from Cash App, people doing this and that. We don't like it. We want to control this money. We want to know who's making what. See, the powers that be are so greedy. They got all the money in the world, but they still want your money. Because see, what you have to understand is the powers that be, they're controlled by Satan. And Satan don't want the righteous to have anything. It's deeper than what people think.
And that's a fact. So thank you, Ringo TV Reviews, for breaking that down. His video and channel link will be in the description. Make sure you tune in, like, subscribe, watch this whole video that he did on there. Thanks for letting me share that 5-minute intro part, man. Back to the video.
Italian economist and banker Ettore Gotti Tedeschi was president of the Vatican's bank at a time of turmoil. Amid a money laundering inquiry, the Holy See's opaque finances came under unprecedented scrutiny. Tedeschi was sacked for alleged dereliction of duty. He claimed he was trying to introduce transparency. So what does he make of the Vatican and the world of high finance today? Euronews met him in Milan. Mr. Tedeschi, you were the president of the Institute for Works of Religion, the Vatican's bank, during the papacy of Benedict XVI. You asked for the help of leading experts on money laundering to bring the Vatican back onto the transparency whitelist. Why did the Vatican not accept your plan? Many people didn't understand what had happened after the 11th of September 2001 and didn't understand that the new international regulations which determine banking systems were going to become stricter. Secondly, numerous people in the Vatican were afraid of a loss of sovereignty in agreeing to yield to these new international norms. Thirdly, in terms of culture, many people believe that the controls are not legitimate because at the Vatican there are facts, events to defend. And so people confuse on the one hand secrets with confidentiality on the other hand. They didn't understand that in the context in which we were living, the absence of internal controls would have provoked more external controls. Fourth point, there were people who didn't understand that the danger concerning this anti-money laundering legislation would lead to a loss of credibility for the Holy Father. The problem at the heart of this debate is that they tried to deter me and pursued me, giving 9 totally false reasons. I demanded an immediate inquiry on these 9 points, and there never was one. And no one ever asked me about it. And what hurts most, and what remains even in the church, is that they didn't want to understand the truth, nor to know my truth. But when you were dramatically sacked, you were afraid for your safety, and you also compiled a dossier on the Vatican Bank's secrets. No, the facts went in a completely different way. However, all that is a question which was passed on to the public prosecutor. I prefer not to speak about it.
Moneyval,
the Council of Europe's Committee of Experts tasked with counteracting money laundering, has always identified numerous shortcomings in the Vatican's finances, in particular in the field of laundering. In your opinion, is Pope Francis able to sort things out?
Moneyval
carried out 2 important inspections at the time of my mandate as president of the bank. The first in November 2011, when it came to see what we'd done the previous year, and it gave a very positive opinion. Then in December 2011, a month later, the Vatican's law on the matter changed against all expectations. 4 points of law were modified, and in particular the role of the controlling authority. The VatiLeaks scandal broke at that moment, and one bank, JP Morgan, closed its account at the Vatican with an enormous media impact. Moneyval came back to Italy once again, and in April 2012 it wrote a second report in which it said, "You've taken a step backwards," but a month later I was no longer there. Do you think in the Vatican Bank money is still being embezzled? I don't know everything, but if there's no law, if the procedures are not there, and if there's no controlling authority, it's obvious that there's a risk. In any case, could Pope Francis resolve things? If Pope Francis wants to really take measures and not only make declarations about reform in a similar way to Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, he should find out about what happened.
Anche Hollywood, col film The Big Short.
Even Hollywood denounces the criminal cynicism of the world of high finance in the US. I'm thinking of the high-risk mortgage loans, toxic products. But in your opinion, is it enough that a banker is motivated by good intentions to neutralize the harmful consequences of these actions?
Le conseguenze letali delle sue azioni?
In this precise case, the limit of cynicism comes not from the banking world, but from the world of politicians, who, in struggling against the crisis, falling GDP and hoping to reduce debt without doing a proper debt reduction process, triggered the famous animal instinct of bankers who were eager to be able to act freely. The responsibility is personal, Mr. Valenti. There was no collective responsibility. Each person should know whether what he does is good or not good for himself and for the common good.
But
how can we accept that a banker can receive bonuses for toxic financial products and not be pursued by the justice system? If you want a technical explanation, it's simple. From a moral point of view, my opinion is there should never be a bonus like that, and if a banker has had them, he should give them back.
Le decisioni economiche
Economic decisions are taken by informed people between New York and Washington. In Brussels, they send their conclusions with a note where they write "to do." That's what you wrote in the book you published with the journalist Paolo Gambi, The Devil's Job.
Pubblicato recentemente con il giornalista Paolo Gambi.
Now, I want to ask, on the international level, do you think Europe counts for nothing?
A livello internazionale non conti nulla.
I believe that today we should ask ourselves this question, but what is it that counts? Today, no one knows where the power lies. Europe could have a very big advantage, that of being a point of balance. It could support the strategy of the United States, which is very worried because Asia is experiencing dramatic growth, or Europe could well make its own choices. Europe is a key element at the moment, in my view, in this system where geopolitical power is being reorganized. But what is Europe? I've not understood what Europe is and who Europe is. If Europe is the Europe of Brussels, we're off to a bad start. But if Europe is Germany, then we're off to an even worse start.
Time is out of joint, scrive Shakespeare.
The time is out of joint. Shakespeare wrote that in Hamlet. These few words seem to me to be revealing about what happens in the world in numerous domains, and no doubt have been for centuries. But do you really believe religion and morality can resolve things?
There's no religion that imposes a cultural system. We can't impose anything. We must believe individually and in a responsible manner regarding what's good and what's bad in exercising our personal freedom. And it's for that reason that the Church has a very, very important role, which has been failing for most of the last 30 years. This failure has led to a great part of the international political and economic world, international leaders, to no longer have this feeling for life. And if I no longer have this feeling for life, how can I give a meaning to my actions?
Dottor Gotti Tedeschi, io la ringrazio di essere stato con noi su Euronews.
Grazie a voi, è stato un grande onore e piacere.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. In the headlines today, the murder of a tech executive, a former head at Square, and also Cash App, stabbed to death yesterday, April 4th, 4/4, a fateful day in history, the day MLK was assassinated, the day the first president in office died. Again, 4/4, where 4 is the number associated with death in numerology, and in gematria, the word kill equals 44. Again, if you're new here, look up the song Murder by Numbers, where killing's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. And also look up the song Gematria, the killing name. Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. You just take the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26, and you add up the letters of kill. K is the 11th letter. I is the 9th. L's the 12th. L's the 12th. Kill equals 44. We talk about this number and death all the time. It doesn't just happen on 4/4, it happens on 44 date numerology. It happens 44 days from people's birthday. In this case, Bob Lee was 43 years old, which means he was in his 44th year of life.
Yo, we are getting tuned in with Zach, breaking this 44 down. And we know Kill with the 44. Jake Shields is also at the age of 44. And he was supposed to meet with Bob Lee the next day. So let's look at Kill across the board with the 44, 17, 64, 28. We see Stabbed matching Kill with the 17. Cash App matching Kill with the double cipher alignment, 64 and 28, just like Kill, 64, 28. And App Parent with the 44, right? We ain't making this up. The App Parent, he was apparently stabbed, right, to death. Apparent 125, 44, Cash App 125, 44, and Stab 1746 like Kill 17, and the Sacrifice of Bob Lee with the 46 like Stabbed 46.
Again, just pay attention to numbers. Yesterday on 4/4, one of the headlines, 4 people killed in Mexico. They said they were killed the day prior, April 3rd, the 93rd day of the year, where Mexico's 93. That's your regularly scheduled Mexico fear propaganda. Then Brazil, another nation that they like to make scary. Today, 4 children killed in axe murders at a daycare in Brazil. But again and again, you guys, you'll see the same numbers. 4, the number of death on 4/4. Bob Lee killed in his 44th year of life while ahead of Cash App.
Pay attention to the wordplay. Tech executive Bob Lee, founder of Cash App, dead after a parent stabbing attack. He was the parent to the Cash App. App parent. He was the parent to the Cash App.
It's probably a ritual for the coming digital dollar. We'll leave it there for now. Actually, you know what? For the person who's new here, I want you to check this out. San Francisco, where this happened. That's where the Satanic Church was established in 66. In gematria, you'll notice San Francisco equals 122. It's on the 122nd meridian west. San Francisco and Satanic both equal 122. San Francisco 122 when you run the alphabetic order forwards. Satanic 122 when you run it in the reverse. Again, on the 122nd meridian. Thus, why the church was established in that city. If you use numerology, San Francisco and Satanic both equal 50. But again, learn gematria. A lot of things will start to make a lot more sense. Till next time.
Again with more blasphemy. You see the apparent stabbing, the parent to the Cash App who was stabbed equals 66. The Cash App founder equals 66. This tech executive equals 66. Now we're going to break down why this 66 is so significant to the Jesuit order.
Person who's new here, I want you to check this out. San Francisco, where this happened. That's where the Satanic Church was established in 66.
The Satanic Church in San Francisco was established in 66. Do you see this? Apparent stabbing, 66, 96. Freemason, 96. The self-reflection number, the as above, so below. The tech executive, 66. And Fed for the feds and FedNow launching their FedNow app in July. Don't forget the blasphemy about the 66 books in the Bible.
Yes, we can trust the 66 books of the Bible. We can stake our lives on these books. And the way we come to this conviction, most essentially, is by meeting Jesus Christ in the pages of this book. He stands forth from the pages in the story that has been written in a way that is self-authenticating and compelling. You meet him, he befriends you, he reduces you to a humble brokenness. He reveals himself sufficient for you in his cross. He becomes beautiful and glorious in his living and dying and rising, such that you cannot not see the magnificence of the glory and the beauty of Jesus Christ. So there's a spiritual thing that happens here. There's an objective reality that happens there. And when that objective reality and this spiritual transformation meet, light happens, and you know that this is true. Now, there are a lot of other objective historical bases and grounds, but when it comes down to an individual coming to deep conviction by which he can die, it happens at that level of seeing in and through the words in the story to the person of Jesus Christ himself, who then vindicates his word in its entirety.
So if that's not enough blasphemy, let's look at some more. The Cash App founder with the 66, 69, all across the board. We see Illuminati with the 69, matching Cash App founder, apparent stabbing. I'm not the one writing the script. You can see it in these news articles. They say apparent stabbing. Apparent stabbing 66, like Cash App founder and like tech executive. And we have the Catholic Church with the 69, like Illuminati and Cash App founder. We know the Jesuits are in control. Did the owner of Cash App get stabbed? Bob Lee, a tech executive and investor who was instrumental in creating the mobile payment service Cash App, was fatally stabbed on the street in San Francisco on Tuesday. Reminder, we need to focus on every word they are trying to hide, and we are going to break their signs and codes down. The tech executive fatally stabbed. I didn't say it, you just read it. I read it, you heard it, you seen it. Fatally stabbed with the 86 and the Jesuits with the 86. And for those who don't know, 86 means you have been eliminated or taken out. San Francisco with the 50 to match the Jesuits as well with the 50. We're going to do more connections to the Jesuits and the Catholic Church all across to the end of this video. You see the Catholic Church with the 69, as above, so below number, the self-reflecting number, Illuminati with the 69, and the Cash App founder. And we will break down the Catholic Church and the Illuminati along with the Jesuit order throughout this video. The Jesuit order with the 144, 72 across the board in the original ordinal and the reverse reduction. The United States of America with the 144 like the Jesuit order. And FedNow instant payments launching in July. What is the FedNow program? Is a service of a new installment payment infrastructure developed by the Federal Reserve that allows financial institutions of every size across the U.S. to provide safe and efficient instant payment services. So Bob Lee must have not been down with the program, so the sacrifice took place. The Jesuit order 144, Cash App creator 144. No coincidence, my friends. We can't make this up. Illuminati 50, 69, sacrifice 73, 46, 62, Cash App murder 62, 73, 46.
And as for dying at age 43, it's also a number connected to death because of the letters RIP 43 in gematria. When you use numerology, killing equals 43. If you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers: alphabetic order with numerology, reverse alphabetic order with numerology. Again, we talked about kill equals 44. When you run it in reverse, kills 64. When you run it in reverse with numerology, kills 28. Just since he was with Cash App right now, it is noteworthy that Cash App does have the gematria 64 and 28. No, this doesn't mean you're going to die if you use Cash App. But the people who perform these rituals, this is how lives are chosen. That phrase, your number's up. You learn this knowledge, all of these things start to make a lot more sense. So RIP to Bob Lee. And
I said let the decoders work, because we're going to be breaking down the Jesuits, the Catholic Church, all through this video. Here you see the Jesuits all across the board: 22, 86, 50. Now let's align it up to fatally stabbed with the 86, San Francisco 50 like the Jesuits, and dead like the Jesuits. They found Bob Lee dead, fatally stabbed in San Francisco the day before Passover. This is going to be very important, so let's remember the Passover. Passover with the 115, 34. Murder with the 34, and Messiah with the 115. Please focus on these numbers. If I can't do nothing if you're going to remain a brain dead sheep. Bob Lee, 43. He died at the age of 43, founder of the Cash App, and was married with 2 children. Alright? His wife name we will talk about later, but you see dead after a horrific act in San Francisco. Horrific with the 86. They got him 86 the fuck out of here. They packed him up. Horrific 86, 130, fatally stabbed 130, 86, and the Jesuits who did this, keep it on the low with the 86. And here you see, let's look at this crypto, right? 34, 29 across the board, murder 34, Passover 34, and Messiah 29. And remember the 34 charges on Trump the day before Passover. Elon Musk mentions a few things, and look at this: Elon Musk 2943, Messiah 2943, and crypto 29. and he died at the age of 43. These numbers and titles should hold some type of significance to your brain dead sheep, even if you don't get it. It's right there in front of your face. So I know you're wondering, yo Bruce, where are you going with this Elon Musk connection? Well, we must remember that Bob Lee helped invest with Elon Musk in SpaceX. So SpaceX will be our Saturn connection, alright? Remember this, Bob Lee previously worked with the former Twitter boss Jack Dorsey and also invested in Elon Musk's SpaceX company, alright? We don't make this shit up.
And as for dying at age 43, it's also a number connected to death because of the letters RIP 43 in gematria. When you use numerology, killing equals 43. If you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers: alphabetic order with numerology, reverse alphabetic order with numerology. Again, we talked about kill equals 44. When you run it in reverse, kills 64. When you run it in reverse with numerology, kills 28. Just since he was with Cash App right now, it is noteworthy that Cash App does have the gematria 64 and 28. No, this doesn't mean you're going to die if you use Cash App. But the people who perform these rituals, this is how lives are chosen. That phrase, your numbers up. You learn this knowledge, all of these things start to make a lot more sense. So RIP to Bob Lee.
And Almanac Zach will keep breaking shit down for you. Tune in, right? Look at Bob Lee killed in stabbing 43, which he died at the age of 43. Very important that we pay attention to this again. Elon Musk 2943, killing 43, Messiah 43, and Crypto 29. Where are we going with this Messiah and Elon Musk, right? Well, pay attention. The Messiah, the day before Passover, his wife Christ. We reaching, right? We're fucking reaching. The Passover date, Wednesday, April 5th through April 13th. The Passover is a major, holiday that celebrates the biblical story of the Israelites' escape from slavery in Egypt. Pesach starts on the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan. Now you know where Nisan gets its name from, which is considered the first month of the Hebrew year. My apologies. Spit it out, Bruce. Feed these motherfuckers the script. Starting at sundown on Wounds Day. Y'all have seen the video that we put on Wednesday and Ash Wednesday, the pagan day. April 5th, Jews around the globe will begin observing Passover, a spring holiday that commemorates the Israelites' exodus from Egypt thousands of years ago. Passover. Alright? The day before Passover, you've seen the dumb Jesuit Trump himself in court with his WWE parade, and you see Bob Lee, the tech executive, murdered the day before Passover. And we are gonna get down and touch on this 45, the Passover day 4-5, like the 45th president doing his Hollywood Jesuit script role. Don't fall for the Hollywood, Hollyweird, the Holly stick, the Holly tree. Don't fall for this Jesuit magic, my friends. You see, it was Good Friday, a day commemorating the crucifixion of Jesus, the Yahweh HaMashiach. You know how to say it. Killing across the board, 74, 38, 115, 43. Messiah, 74 like killing, 115 Messiah like killing, 43 like killing, like 43 the age of his death. Elon Musk with the 43, Passover 115 matching Messiah and the killing, and murder itself with the 38 just like killing. Very important numbers that hold significance in the Kabbalah, the Passover Seder, like Good Friday they call it, has a matching cipher in the ordinal and reverse. Passover cedar with the 166 and Good Friday with the 166. Again, the Satanic Church in San Francisco, built in 66, like the 66 books in the Bible.
For more on the legal and political implications of today's charges, let's bring in Chief Political Analyst John Dickerson, Chief Election and Campaign Correspondent Robert Costa, and CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman. Ricky, you've read through the indictment. What stood out to you?
I think what stands out to me is I wanted to know what the nexus was. What's the connection between falsifying business records and what law was concealed? And what we've learned is that the government says that this was a conspiracy, in essence, an agreement of more than two people to keep information away from the voting public in 2016. So it's a federal election violation, a state election violation, as well as a mischaracterization for tax purposes.
And there might be new witnesses, right?
I think the new witnesses are the things that intrigue me most, because what we have here in order to prove this agreement or scheme is they talked about the CFO, that's Alan Weisselberg. They talked about the comptroller. They talk about the accounts payable supervisor. So these witnesses may have already testified or given information to the district attorney's office. And when you look at the allegations concerning Weisselberg, he's either a target or a witness.
Really interesting, Robert Costa. Along with this indictment, there was a 13-page statement of fact filled with some really interesting details, and the timeline is important.
Nora, when you read this statement of fact, there's another piece of history right here. That in 2017, Trump's first year in the presidency, he was cutting checks to Michael Cohen in the Oval Office. So during his first year in office, while he's dealing with immense national security challenges and all of these other major issues, he's also, this statement of fact says, and this indictment says, at the center of a criminal scheme to pressure Michael Cohen to make these payments, to stay quiet. It is perhaps the closest criminality has come to this U.S. presidency since Richard Nixon.
And John Dickerson, what does this mean for Donald Trump legally, politically, in the future?
Well, politically, it's been sorted the way things always are with Donald Trump. His supporters rush to his aid, say he's a victim of a prosecutor. Those who are his detractors say no one is above the law. What was tantalizing about all these facts is we thought this would move into the legal realm where reason, fact, argument can win the day. But that's going to take a very long time to work out. It may take a year or more, and that means this legal case raises the stakes, gets everybody talking in apocalyptic terms, but the political process is ongoing. The legal process is very slow. So the stakes are high, but nothing's going to happen legally to actually resolve those stakes.
It's going to be an interesting couple of years. John Dickerson, Ricky Kleeman, Robert Costa, thank you.
Just going again, yes. Oh. Well, apparently, WWE United States Champion Donald Trump, ex-president, might be arrested tomorrow, Tuesday. Let the tragedy and comedy begin. Oh, dear people, dear people, dear people. You know, back in the 90s, in professional wrestling, the then WWF was engaged in something with the then WCW, and it was called the Attitude Era, okay? And I gotta tell you, if you look at all into professional wrestling, the Masonic ties that are within professional wrestling is staggering. The Satanism that is involved in professional wrestling is staggering. I mean, it truly is. But one of the angles in the 90s was Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, okay? And there was a specific skit where Stone Cold was arrested by going up against the man, Vince McMahon, and he was taken off to jail. Of course, it was all storyline. And of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin, with his character and fame became great because he was arrested, right? People, you have to understand the world that is being given to you via the Jesuit-controlled media is a farce. It's entertainment, man. It's entertainment. It's not reality. The reality that is being given to you via the internet, via the media, via the television, via the news is controlled, okay, by the Jesuit order. They are giving you an unreal reality, okay? And, you know, in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, please get your authorized version of the scriptures. And go with me in the authorized version of the scriptures to Ecclesiastes chapter 4. We're just going to look at a few things here because this is so preposterous. Not the fact that they're going to arrest Donald Trump, or if they do, whatever. No. This is drama. This is theater. And you people are eating it up. Okay? And all this theater and all this drama, they're building. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Okay? Do you like professional wrestling? No, Brad, that's for kids. Well, not really. Yeah, big kids in their 50s, right? But you are seeing a professional wrestling angle being portrayed right in front of your eyes, and the Jesuit order is laughing at all of y'all who take this slop seriously. Okay? Okay? But in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, follow me along, word for word, verse by verse of the scriptures we are going to be looking at today. We're not going to be looking at much because got quite a few things to down the pipe here that we're going to be talking about. This week, Lord willing, is going to be centered more so around things of government, but also some other things about certain positions a brother asked or whatnot, but nonetheless. Ecclesiastes 4 verses 13 on to the close. Better is a poor and wise child than an old and foolish king who will no more be admonished. Poor, blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, right? Right. Kingdom of heaven, another dispensation, all right? But poor. We are poor and needy as the Church of Living God, okay? Get your mind away from this, okay? Get your mind away from mammon, okay? But we are poor. We are dependent upon our Father, our Lord Jesus Christ. We are dependent upon Him, not self-sufficient, okay? All right? We do things as guided by the Lord Jesus Christ, the Holy Ghost, and the Lord is that Spirit. Our Lord Jesus Christ, our Father, yes, but we are not self-sufficient in and of ourselves. Our sufficiency is of the Lord, okay, who leads us and guides us, okay? All right, and wise child, okay, wise, fear of the Lord, child, as children desire, as babes, desiring the sincere milk of the word. Isaiah chapter 28, okay, what is it, verses 13 on to verse 15, I believe that is. Isaiah 28, but we are dependent on the Lord, okay? But an old and foolish king, old and foolish, fool says in his heart there is no God, and to behave foolishly is to behave as if you say in your heart there is no God. King, the older you get, the harder it is for you to come to the truth. Why? Because of the old-fashioned saying, set in your ways, right? Right? It isn't impossible. It's not impossible. Okay? It's possible that someone in their elder age can come to the Lord. It's possible. Is it probable? No. The longer you go, the longer you are steeped in your sin and are justifying sin, the longer you go, the harder it comes for you to come back from that. And eventually you will reach a point of no return where you get so steeped into your sin that it's only going to take devastation to do anything with you. Okay? Thus, which is happening in the world right now. Okay? But an old and foolish king, okay, we will do as we have always done. You know, no matter what you say. Okay, it talks about this in the Jeremiah chapter 44, I believe it is, where the children of Israel as led by their women. Okay, so we will not hearken unto thee, but we will do as we have always done. Okay, let's look at that. Okay, hold your place here and go to Jeremiah chapter 44. Jeremiah chapter 44. Okay, like I said, you know, I spent time in the book of Jeremiah, especially in these days.
Thank you at Accountable KJV. Make sure you tune in and listen to Brad's word. Always spitting fire. Thank you. Now let's look at the new digital currency dropping and launching in July. FedNow 673123, the human sacrifice 67 like FedNow, blood sacrifice 67, FedNow service 67 like sacrifice, human sacrifice, and Bob Lee 2331 like FedNow. Seems like they were fed the fuck up and had to get them X'd out. They 86'd them. The FRBservices.org with the 86, the human sacrifice with the 86, the blood sacrifice like the 86, the Jesuits like the 86. We seen this 86 stamped on many murders by the numbers. The Federal Reserve with the 86. Federal Reserve is pushing the new Fed now digital currency, and they got Bob Lee X'd out. They 86'd him. The tech exec Bob Lee, founder of Cash App, dead after apparent stabbing attack in San Francisco. Bob Lee, the former chief technology officer of Square who helped launch Cash App, has died after an apparent stabbing attack in San Francisco. He also invested in Elon Musk SpaceX. I repeat, the SpaceX is coming soon. The Jesuits across the board 2286, Main Street 2286 with the double alignment where he was stabbed to death. We cannot make this up, my friends. The Main Street across the board 7686 41, another 86. Time to 86 him out on Main Street. The Federal Reserve with the 86 to match Main Street. Again, we just looked at human sacrifice, blood sacrifice with the 86s. FRBservices.org with the 76 to match Main Street, 86 to match Main Street, and Bob Lee to match Main Street where he was murdered. Do you not see this connection? There is an alignment. That's why we are using these specific words. This is the practice of gematria, also practiced by the Jesuits who were infiltrated the Catholic organized religion. There you see the hashtag KPIX 6048, Tech Executive 60, and Illuminati 48 to match the hashtag that has been spread all across after his death. And you know I'm gonna stamp this motherfucking homicide with the 201. You know I'm gonna stamp this with the homicide 201. Hey yo Nando, where's the artillery? Yo, you know I put in work with the 201 and the 187. Don't think we're not going to see the 187 today in this video. The Jesuit order 177 across the board at 69 and 201. Tech Executive 201 like the Jesuit order. Catholic Church like the Jesuit order. This is where the Jesuits are hiding. They infiltrated the Vatican. Order of Illuminati like Tech Executive 201 and the Jesuit Order. New World Order 17769 like the Jesuit Order for the Jesuits. You guys need to understand and need to learn. Alright? Catholic Church 69 like Illuminati. This is where the Jesuits infiltrated. This is where they're hiding, worshiping Saturn, right? 6975 Catholic Church, just like the New World Order. And at the end of this video, they called Bob Lee Crazy Bob. Here you see so many people here calling him Crazy Bob. Order of Illuminati 201, Tech Executive 201. Look at this, guys. Rincon Hill Street, where he was murdered. Rincon Hill Street. I can't make this shit up. 201. He was murdered on Rincon Hill Street. And we gonna show what's right around the corner from Rincon Hill Street. We cannot make this up.
Location is 365 Main, crossing of Folsom and Harrison.
It was just after 2:30 Tuesday morning.
Stabbing out of letter, responding control.
Sources tell the ABC 7 News I-team surveillance footage shows Bob Lee, a high-profile tech executive, walking down the empty block of Main Street in San Francisco's Rincon Hill neighborhood with apparent stab wounds in his upper left chest. In San Francisco's Rincon Hill neighborhood with apparent stab wounds in his upper left chest. San Francisco's Rincon Hill neighborhood with apparent stab wounds in his upper left chest.
Alright, you brain dead sheep. Before we go, we're going to give you a 201 breakdown. Alright, Bob Lee, the tech exec. 201, tech executive 201. Alright, let's run to the Vatican and show you these 201 numbers and how significant they are to the Jesuits. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits. Alright, his name equals 201. The papacy, the Pope, who hides in the Vatican. The Pope today is George Mario Bergoglio. His name adds to 201. George Mario Bergoglio sleeps in the Vatican at the Domus Sanctae Martyr. Domus Sanctae Martyr equals 201. In this Domus Sanctae Martyr, he sleeps in the suite 201. I'm not making this shit up. And this is all going down on St. Peter Street, the Basilica at the Vatican, right? The Order of Illuminati 201. Bob Lee died on Main Street, Rincon Hill Street 201. Back to the Vatican. The Basilica on St. Peter Street, where St. Peter's flipped the cross upside down cross equals 201. They are worshiping Saturn in the Vatican. That's why you see Roman god of Saturn 201, Saturn worship 201. This is all blasphemy. The Holy Bible equals 201, like event 201. Get with the program, alright? Here's your 187 for all you brain dead sheep. The Society of Jesus equals 187. Mixed martial arts equals 187. Sequoia Shields, Jake Shields equals 187. He was based on one more thing, and that's the Order of the New Dawn. That is the Jesuit Order, the Order of the Illuminati, which is also known for all your WWE fans, all you wrestling fans, the New World Order. Alright, you hear everything I had to say about the Order of the New Dawn, the push of these new surveillances. Get ready to get chipped, all that other BS. The 15-minute cities is coming. But what we need to see before we leave talking about the New World Order, look what was on the corner where he was murdered, where Bob Lee was murdered. The digital currency. This has now become your digital reality. The new coming is the digital reality, not reality. Alright, y'all. appreciate you all if you made it this motherfucking far in the video. Excuse the cursing. You know we always dropping F-bombs all over the damn place. So again, we're gonna start this. We started the video with the Jesuit, and we're gonna end it with the video with the Jesuits. We're talking about the dollar, so let's talk about the dollar. The dollar sign. You see this cross, this Rosicrucian cross with the IHS, which is the dollar sign. All right, I know this is gonna take you by surprise, but yes, that dollar sign you see, you know, the S with the two lines going down, that is the IHS logo, the Jesuit stamp. You have to understand this, my friends. Look at this. In gematria, IHS equals 18. No coincidence, right? Money equals 18. The Jesuit order also equals 72 in the reverse full reduction, and money equals 72 in the English ordinal. Now let's look at money, which is the moon's eye, right? Money. You have to look at this. Money equals moon's eye. You see the sun, moon, the moon's eye, and the dollar sign all match in all four ciphers. All four ciphers. You see the English ordinal, the Francis Bacon, and the English Sumerian. 111, 137, 221, and 666. The dollar sign in English Sumerian equals 666. On the top left hand, you see the cross hidden in the IHS. You see the dollar sign IHS. This is where the dollar sign gets from the order, the Jesuit order, the Order of the Illuminati, and the Order of the Hermetic Golden Dawn. We're out.
Hey JRDs, thereligionteacher.com, and you may have seen these letters on artwork in Catholic and Christian churches, whether it's on stained glass windows, or a cross, or a crucifix, or an altar, or a tabernacle. What do these letters mean? What do they stand for? Sometimes you might see them look like this with a little cross on top, or here the lowercase h might turn into a cross as well. And why cross? Because the word refers to Jesus. IHS are the first three letters of Jesus' name in Greek. So if I rewrite this in English, I becomes J, H or eta becomes E, the sigma becomes S, rather than O, U, we might just write down U, and then of course, Jesus. So Jesus. That's what IHS stands for, those first three letters of Jesus' name. This grew in popularity, especially during the Middle Ages. And during that time, the devotion to the holy name of Jesus was on the rise. So people were encouraged to write down IHS on their doors and wherever they possibly could. St. Ignatius of Loyola also adopted it to refer to the Society of Jesus, his newfound order in the late Middle Ages. So when you see the letters IHS, what do they mean? They mean Jesus. They're referring to the name of Jesus. So go make disciples. God bless.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
So I say we must clean the house of white America of racism. Americans who are in the white majority should be proud to stand up and be heard denouncing the sort of racist rhetoric we heard on that tape, so loudly and clearly denouncing it that our black fellow citizens can hear us. White racism may be black people's burden, but it's white people's problem. We must clean our house.
I think, my mother had an expression, out of everything terrible, something good will come if you look hard enough for it. I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes. You know, we are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it. So anyway, I'm going to hush up, Mary, fire away.
Nothing less than a new world order. This is the pledge of the world's most powerful leaders, representing 90% of the global economy. Thursday's G20 summit, they say, has changed the rules of the game.
Today, the largest countries of the world have agreed a global plan for recovery and reform. This involves the biggest interest rate cuts in history, the biggest fiscal stimulus we have ever seen, the biggest increase in resources in the history of our international institutions.
A total of $5 trillion for the global economy by the end of next year, including $1 trillion for the International Monetary Fund. Staggering figures that the 20 countries, along with international institutions, agreed upon to combat the crisis. The G20 has laid out other measures, too, to firm up a financial system many say enabled the worst excesses of the past. These include an end to tax havens, stronger regulation of companies and banks, and new rules to rein in corporate bonuses.
We will implement new rules on pay and bonuses at a global level that reflect actual performance, with no more rewards for failure.
The G20 leaders arrived in London divided, with France and Germany holding out for tougher controls on tax havens notably. But the results have won praise from all sides.
This is more than we could have hoped for. We are all aware that alone we can do nothing. We are all aware that we need to create new rules to build a new foundation of the system. This is what we have done.
The very institutions at the epicenter of the crisis have also made their approval known. Stock markets shot up in response to the deal, signaling, for now at any rate, a return of confidence.
America first. A new world order. Presidential decrees cascading from President Trump's pen. A border war with Mexico, kicking off the world's first leadership Twitter spat. Mexico's president announcing on a video they won't pay. Trump firing back on Twitter that it would be better to cancel the upcoming meeting. President Peña Nieto tweets back, "I will not attend the meeting scheduled for next Tuesday with the POTUS." Another decree cutting the Trans-Pacific Partnership adrift. The other 11 member nations and the rest of the world now figuring out what it means for them.
We must not underestimate what he has in store. He will lead a protectionist, nationalistic program. NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, could be next, and tighter immigration controls for some Muslims.
Then Israel. Total defrost of that White House relationship. Already Israel announcing plans to expand settlements. America's regional allies scrambling to respond. President Trump making good on some of candidate Trump's promises.
I think areas in the South China Sea that are part of international waters and international activities, I think the U.S. is going to make sure that we protect our interests there. So.
His spokesman, tough on China, drawing swift Chinese condemnation.
The United States is not a party to the South China Sea issue. We urge the United States to honor its commitments.
Amidst all this controversy, the first world leader to visit President Trump.
Time and again, it is the relationship between us that has defined the modern world.
British Prime Minister Theresa May trading on historic US-UK bonds to boost business between the two nations. But pushed off message by Trump's latest comments. Torture may be okay. defending herself before she left the UK.
That we have a very clear position on torture. We do not sanction torture. We do not get involved with that, and that will continue to be our position.
The British leader also facing European pushback on her visit. Concerns Trump is using Britain to divide Europe. Reality is Trump's presidency is in its infancy. The question British and others around the world are trying to figure out is, will America's new president go it alone? Or will he evolve into something global diplomats can more readily fall in line with? Nick Robertson, CNN, Washington.
Darkness no longer, a child is born. Mother shed tears of joy as baby tests his lungs. But daddy's not there where he ought to be. Somewhere in Georgia, skinning and shooting craps on his knees. Another victim born out here in the hood. And based on statistics, it really ain't all good. Welfare takes the tab, and daddy can't sign, and it can't be seen. The family becomes a crime. The hunt is on, and brother, you're the prey. Serving time in jail, it just ain't the way. I'm living so hard, baby, that my hair's gray. We gotta make a change. It's a brand new day. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a new day. A change of mind for the human race. It's a new world order, a brand new day. A change of mind for the human race. Operation in flux, and it's on the way. We just marched 1 million plus the other day. Look, we all witnessed the sweat rolling down Miss Liberty's head. She knows the sleeping giant is no longer sleeping dead. Oh, what a fulfillment of prophecy. Let us teach the children freedom's never been free. It's okay to cry, go ahead and cry. 'Cause Jesus wept, but hope and faith be kept. It's a new day. World order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. It's a new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. The die has been cast, and there's no need to fear. 'Cause people, the answer to your prayers are here. Sister Mary, don't you weep. Tell mother not to moan. We need the love, and Daddy's coming home. There's no need to worry. The times dictate a plan. Mother Earth is giving birth to a brand new man. Sister, I know you're misunderstood, but hold on to your man. 'Cause the future looks good. It's a new day. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. It's a new world order, a brand new day. It's a change of mind for the human race. Beware of the lies and false prophecy. We are many with eyes, but don't all really see. You must be merciful, my friend, to obtain the same. So if you break the chain, don't pass the blame. We should say unto all, and I'll say it again, it's not just a win. Shake a hand, make a friend. We who are pure at heart somehow might see there's still light in the world. Come rejoice with me. It's a new day. A new world order, a brand new day. It's a change.